Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, February 22nd, 2018. I'm Keith Tebow. On tonight's program, we are less than 2 weeks away from the referendum on the financing of a new BMC Durfee High School, and we'll have more information from those in support and in opposition to the referendum. And we're also going to have an update on information concerning this season's flu outbreak. But first, let's bring in digital news editor Will Richmond at the Herald News. Will, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. Good to see you again.
Welcome. The March 6th referendum, as I said, less than 2 weeks away. There's been a lot of talk, and there's going to be more talk tonight, as right after this telecast at 6:30 p.m., join us here live at FRC Media as we're collaborating with the Herald News to bring a forum on the new BMC Durfee High School financing referendum. You can see that's what our studio location will look like tonight. Will be the moderator of tonight's event. Will, fill us in on some of the details of the forum.
Sure. I'm really hoping tonight's forum will be a conversation on the ballot question that will go before voters on March 6th. Really, I'm hopeful, that this will be less of a confrontational debate type of situation and just an opportunity for both sides to discuss why they feel the funding should be approved or it shouldn't. And, we'll take it from there and see what we can get out to voters ahead of that vote coming up.
There definitely has been a lot of discussion on both sides of the issue leading up to the referendum, again, in less than 2 weeks. And one of the things that's important is the Mayor Correa held a press conference yesterday on Wednesday at Durfee High School, allowing reporters to see the deplorable conditions of parts of that high school. Meanwhile, those opposed are talking about the tax implications. And I agree with you. I hope tonight is just an opportunity to hear both sides. And obviously, this is the only organized forum where you're going to be directing the discussion. And hopefully, it'll be an ideal opportunity for people to hear from both sides and make their own decision come March 6th. So we're hoping for some a respectful debate tonight, and it should be very interesting. We're going to have a lot more about the Durfee referendum on this newscast. And again, but please join us tonight at 6:30. Right after this newscast, we will have the Durfee Referendum Forum here on FRC TV Channel 95. You can also see it on our Facebook page as Facebook Live, FRC Media, also on the Herald News website, on our website. Plenty of opportunities for you to see tonight's forum. All right, well, let's move along. Another school department news, something that we didn't have a chance to talk about last week because it sort of transpired sort of after we were off the air last week for the newscast, was following the tragedy in Parkland, Florida, where 17 people were killed by a shooter. The city of Fall River and the school department received, now we're told, 2 separate anonymous threats that forced the school department last Friday to put in place some enhanced security measures at the high school and at other schools across the city. Last night, there was a public meeting between school officials and parents and those concerned about those threats and the safety in our schools. First, let's talk about what happened last night at that forum. Then we'll talk about what's going to be happening next.
Sure. Shortly after the school department received the threats, last week they put out notice that they would hold a forum for parents to come in, speak with the superintendent, staff members about school safety, any concerns, questions they may have. Last night's forum, it is school vacation week, so it was lightly attended, but the parents there did voice their concerns about the notification process, whether or not the parents and families beyond just Durfee should have been notified of the situation through the school's communication systems. And it seems that in many cases, the superintendent took some of those considerations to heart and is looking to make whatever changes are reasonable to make while keeping families, students safe, help families feel secure, and know that their child will be safe if they come to school in Fall River buildings.
It's always a balancing act in terms of when a community receives threats like this to be prudent in terms of following up with those threats, but also trying not to alarm the community of what the potential threat was. I mean, you have to let them know that there was a threat, but there's always that balancing act. And news that actually transpired this afternoon, the Superintendent Matt Malone sent out a letter to parents today, posted on social media, again, reiterating the threats that was received by the school department and police last week, and announcing that out of an abundance of caution that the school department will maintain those additional enhanced security measures when school resumes next week. What did that include? I believe in like the high school there was metal detectors and searches of bags. I assume that's the type of thing that will continue.
Yeah, they limit the number of entrances that students can use coming in the morning. As you mentioned, the metal detectors are in place, bag searches as needed. So they will continue, they're going to continue with that as students come back from vacation. And, they noted that there'd be some additional measures at schools across the district as well. So it sounds as though the superintendent took some of the concerns of those family members to heart that he heard on Wednesday night, and just wants to make sure that as they return to the school routine, that students feel safe coming into the building.
All right, we'll definitely have more on this next week as school resumes here in Fall River after a school vacation week here in February. Another story that we touched upon a few weeks ago was the future of the Riverview Towers off of Milliken Boulevard and Columbia Street in Fall River. We had a story a couple weeks ago that there were going to be new owners to the property, and that the owners were looking to potentially make some changes in terms of how the allocation of the apartments would take place. There are a lot of low-income seniors and veterans living in that building as of right now, and they were concerned about their future under a new ownership. Well, this week, the Housing Authority was informed that the new owners of Riverview Towers were not going to go through with the sale. So the Housing Authority is having to repost the sale of the Riverview Towers. And what does this mean potentially for the low-income occupants of that location?
Well, it's not so much that the Housing Authority is reposting for the sale. The property is a private property. It was being sold. What the Housing Authority is looking to do, they're in charge of housing vouchers related to Section 8.
Right.
This has to do with, in part, the knocking down of Watuppa Heights years ago and the redistributing of those low-income sort of spaces here in Fall River. So the Housing Authority is now determining what to do next with those 150 Section 8 vouchers that would be distributed in Fall River. Part of the original plan of the buyers of Riverview Towers was looking to do was to acquire those vouchers so that they could then be used inside Riverview Towers. That was a method that the residents felt would help to keep them in the building, as there had been talk that the mayor, in his vision for that area of the city, was looking to make Riverview Towers more of a market rate, moderate income type of living area to take advantage of some potential growth and interest in the downtown area. So now the Housing Authority is working to determine the next steps of those 150 Section 8 vouchers and what to do with those.
Right. And that may or may not go with new owners of Riverview Towers, correct?
Correct. Yeah, okay. They're even looking outside of the city potentially to see if they could be used elsewhere, or another community might want to absorb some of those vouchers.
All right, very good. Thank you for clarifying that, by the way. All right, well, what else is coming up over the next few days?
Well, Durfee, the Durfee project. On Sunday, we begin a big look at what the project means, the condition of the building, the process that we've taken to get where we are today, and where we'll go in the future depending on how the vote turns out.
All right, get yourself all made up, put the powder on, and we'll see you in a few moments for the forum. We'll talk soon.
All right, we'll see you soon, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media news right after this.
Prepared to vote on the fate of a new BMC Durfee High School, FRC Media is partnering with the Herald News in hosting a forum presenting both sides of the issue. Join us on Thursday, February 22nd at 6:30 p.m. as we televise a forum live from our studios at Bristol Community College. This will be the only organized forum leading up to the referendum on March 6th. This event is closed to the public. The only way to watch is to tune in to FRC TV Channel 95 or online on our FRC Media Facebook page. Be an informed voter. Watch our Durfee High School Referendum Forum on Thursday, February 22nd. Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Funeral Services Assistant. Cherry Place Funeral Home, located at 178 Winter Street, is looking for a part-time funeral services assistant to set up and assist with viewings, funeral services, memorial services, and interact directly with client families during their time of need. Job number 102-62689. Medical Receptionist. Primacare, located at 277 Pleasant Street, is in need of a full-time medical receptionist to greet and schedule patients and visitors, bookkeeping, billing, and answering phones. Job number 102-64577. Cashier. Bristol Community College, located at 777 Ellsbury Street, is looking for a full-time front-of-the-house cashier, responsible for the daily cash operations at the college cafeteria and setup of cafe meals. Job number 102-66775. Whirlpool Corporation, located at 88 Current Road, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Welder, job number 10260843. Assembler, job number 10260841. Blount Fine Foods, located at 630 Current Road, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Line Technicians, job number 10252599. Special Projects Assistant, job number 10252560. For more information on these or other positions, visit jobquest.detma.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. We continue to hear more from those in favor and opposed to the March 6th referendum on financing a new BMC Durfee High School. Earlier this week, Fall River Mayor Jaziel Correa held a news conference to throw his support behind the plan to finance that new high school.
Welcome to Durfee High School here in Fall River, Massachusetts. My name is Mayor Jaziel Correa II, and today is a very exciting day. Today is the day that we are talking about building a new Durfee High School and asking the public here in Fall River on March 6th to go out to the polls and vote yes for a new Durfee High School. This project has been 4+ years in the making, and we're excited to talk about really the reasons why Durfee High School needs to be rebuilt from the ground up, adjacent to this building in the parking lot next door, and then eventually some of this building as well as it begins to come down.
Since this building opened, it's been working against us every single day. We think about the conditions of this building. They're not right for education. My role as the educational advocate for this city is to advocate for our children. And this building is not educationally sound in a way that will provide us a 21st century education. So we worked very hard over the last several years to put together a plan, presented it to the MSBA to support a new building in the city of Fall River. We feel strongly that the time is now. We feel strongly that this building can no longer support the needs of the children in the city. And we also feel strongly that our children are worthy of such an investment in a new building.
Current Durfee High School student Colby Pic Soto also gives a thumbs up to the project.
I can just say that thinking back through all of my years here, I can trace different problems that I've had that can be contributed to the structure of this building. I remember my freshman year, towards the end of the year when it was beginning to be really hot outside, the AC broke and our windows cannot open in this building, so we were all stuck in classrooms that were upwards of 80 degrees trying to learn and trying to take our final test for the end of the year. But a lot of us weren't able to focus, and we ended up having to have only half days for about the last month of the year. So we suffered immensely in our education in that last month. My sophomore year, I had a chemistry class that didn't have walls because of the open classroom structure of the building. So we had to use file cabinets to build walls between the different classes. So the majority of my class time was spent with the teacher walking back and forth between the other classrooms, asking them to be quiet so that we could focus on the work we were doing. And it was extremely distracting, and I know I did not learn much chemistry in that year. This year we had the pipe burst a couple of weeks ago where we were out of school for 2 days because of the flooding. And I know my main thought was wondering what would have happened if this had happened when we were all in school. And it was a really scary thought coming back here that Friday to think, there's always a risk of this happening again, and if it did, it would just be complete chaos for those of us in the school. And since that has happened, it's just been a completely different feeling when we walk into the school. We've had to completely close off that part of the building, so our science teachers have had to take other teachers' classrooms and use them throughout the day. Most of them have to just use a cart in order to wheel around all their materials because they don't have a classroom to store all of their things. So that takes a toll on a lot of the science education happening, as well as the other teachers that now have to share their classrooms. English and science classes are being forced to cohabitate their classrooms. Walking through the hallways, we have to avoid water buckets constantly because we don't know if there will be a drip and we'll be tripping or slipping on the water on the floor. My health class has giant gaping holes in the ceiling where it's constantly leaking, so we have to structure where we sit around those holes in the ceiling. And I just feel that with a building, we could have so much more Durfee pride, and we could have so much more better education happening in this school. And even though I won't be here when the new building is here, I think that the future students definitely deserve that building and that it would help them immensely.
The cost of the new construction is estimated at $263 million. The city's Director of Financial Services, Mary Sahadi, explained the proposed breakdown of how the project will be financed.
What that means to us is that we will be reimbursed 62.4% of this cost. As the mayor indicated, we have been working really hard with the finance team to develop a plan so that we can absorb some of that cost within our operating budget. So at the moment, we are planning to absorb approximately $40 million worth of the city's share of that cost. So what we will be asking the taxpayers to absorb is $58.5 million. What that means to an average taxpayer would be approximately $115. That's a residential taxpayer. The remaining amount of money will be a debt service. It will be excluded from the tax levy, but it will be added to the individual's tax bills for potentially if we went to the long term for 30 years. But as a finance team, or as the finance team, or member of the finance team, we have developed a plan as new debt comes off, or as debt comes off for those schools that we currently have and we will be paying for. We are looking to absorb that debt within the first 8 years of the debt service. So we are planning, we are hoping that assuming no other catastrophes within the school system, no other schools that need to be built, we are hoping that we'll be able to absorb the debt within the first 8 years of the debt service. So taxpayers will be paying the debt for approximately 7 years worth of the new high school.
Now, there is strong opposition to the ballot initiative. A committee calling itself People for a Better Way is not opposed to the construction of a new Durfee, but the financing seeking a Proposition 2.5 override leading to higher taxes. Here's Committee Chairman Carlos Caesar.
On the city side, when they did work for 4 years, on the city side was no job done. And it's always a last-minute rush. And the easy way is always to go after the citizens and after the people to pay more tax and more tax and more tax. Let's see what we did and what the city did in 4 years when they knew that they needed money for the school. We gave away $140 million in TIFs. We did a bond for $10,000 for park improvements. We did $10 million bond for streetscapes. Just last month, we raised over $60,000 in pay raises. Just this week, we hired another person for another $45,000. So what is more important? If it's all about the kids, and the kids are very important, why we didn't prepare ourselves? We had 5 years, 4 years to prepare ourselves. But no, and even when we almost got that conversation, can we do that without override? Can we still do that on our bond? Left. One city council put a motion, another one backed up a second. So that motion was that. We really didn't have options. We got against the wall to do what they want.
Again, join us in just about 10 minutes as we will have a forum seeking opinions on both sides of the Durfee referendum. And we'll have more FRC Media news after this.
As Fall River voters prepare to vote on the fate of a new BMC Durfee High School, FRC Media is partnering with the Herald News in hosting a forum presenting both sides of the issue. Join us on Thursday, February 22nd at 6:30 p.m. as we televise a forum live from our studios at Bristol Community College. This will be the only organized forum leading up to the referendum on March 6th. This event is closed to the public. The only way to watch is to tune in to FRC TV Channel 95 or online on our FRC Media Facebook page. Be an informed voter. Watch our Durfee High School Referendum Forum on Thursday, February 22nd.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. We don't have just cats and dogs, we have bunnies too, and this is a real sweetheart. Her name is Duck. She's about 9 months old, and we think she's probably a lion head dwarf mix, so she's not going to get much bigger than she already is. Easy to handle, not a big squirmer. Don't know how she is in the house, and I don't know why she was surrendered by her owner. But just like most rabbits, they will chew on whatever if they're given the opportunity, but she's still young to learn. She's a beauty.
So this week on Hot Dogs and Cool Cats, we have the handsome Pudge. He is a pit mix. He is a very big boy. As you can see, he is a little on the skinny side. We got him as a transfer from a vet clinic. He's very good at focusing, very good at taking direction. It just takes him a little bit to understand what you're saying. He is no kids and no other animals. He has to be the only boy. Likes all the attention. As you can see, he does really good at focusing. So I think him going to a home that likes to train or run or go hiking or has specific purposes like agility or anything of that nature, I think he would excel in that type of home. So if you are interested in the handsome Pudge, who is around 4 years old, please feel free to come down and visit Forever Paws. We're located at 300 Linwood Avenue. Open every day 11 to 4 besides for Wednesdays. So come visit us.
Now, the weather may have been warm this week, but health officials in the greater Fall River area are still urging residents to get the most updated flu vaccination. Here's more.
Because the season is not over, nor is there any end in sight at this point in time, I do recommend getting vaccinated. It is very important because this year the strain that is most dominant is quite strong and can produce other illnesses, secondary illnesses.
Such as
Pneumonia, asthma exacerbation, COPD exacerbation. So it's very important, especially if you're one of those high-risk groups, such as the very young or elderly, to get the vaccination.
I heard, though, that it was only 16% effective. Is that true?
The latest statistics are actually a bit better than that, higher for children, a little bit lower for adults. But nonetheless, if you happen to have that strain that the flu vaccine is effective against, that's when it matters. So it's unfortunately a game of numbers. But if you happen to be fortunate enough to have the strain that the vaccine protects against, it's better for you.
Does it matter if you have the inhalation one or the vaccination?
This year, the inhalation vaccine is actually not available because of the type of strains that they've utilized in the vaccination. So they're only recommending the intramuscular injection.
Did this strain of the flu come as a surprise to the medical community this year?
I think, I don't know if I would use exactly the word surprise. The strains tend to mutate with time and exposure. This year it's the H3 strain, which is why it's so bad. That's the specific strain, H3 and 2, I believe it is this year. And that's the one that, admittedly, we didn't prepare for as much as we potentially could have.
Well, how do you prepare?
Well, it's basically on the vaccine manufacturers more than anything else.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. Again, a reminder coming up next, the forum featuring those in favor and opposition to the referendum in financing a new BMC Durfee High School. You can catch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. and online 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.